These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
I am so sick and tired of these little screens out wide to Aaron Jones or the receiver. We don't throw the ball downfield. We did last week against Dallas and had great results. Today was back to what we did during the 5-game losing streak. It's like they completely threw the Dallas film out there, it threw it away, and went back to what they did to lose. I mean, it was pathetic. It was a team we should have beat, and if we actually had called a great game plan, we would have beat them. But we got a bunch of coaches who don't know how to coach, and, I mean, you can blame the floor for bringing Joe Barry in. They need to go.
With these guys. I want to hear that guy. Do we know what that guy's name was from, by the way, the 107.5 The Fan Packers vent line?
Unfortunately, no names on these clips. I don't know. Our amazing producer, Jason, who cuts up all these and finds up all this stuff for us. But no names, shockingly. I would love to know, is that Oli? Like, what is this guy's name here?
Yeah, let's call him Bob or whatever his name was. I want to hear that guy. I want them to usher him into the locker room. Okay, so here are 53 Packers players, 10, 14 practice squatters, 29 coaches, and the front office. Tell them how to do their jobs, guy.
That's the great part about football, though.
It's
and
so
sports
great.
in
Well,
general.
we do it every day here. That's how we make
I know
a
we
living.
do. Yeah, I can't criticize Bob for that.
Media and sports and athletes. So, like, the only profession where we can, like, make fun of, like, plumbers don't make fun of real estate agents. You know what I'm saying? Like they and politicians
what are you doing,
also.
guy?
Yeah,
I mean,
what are you doing?
The wrong wrench. You went to this house and used the right wrench. Now you brought your different tool set. Why would you bring a different toolkit?
It's sports
Fire his ass.
sports teams and athletes, media personalities, politicians. That's the only realm where we can all make fun of people. But like a car mechanic is not going to make fun of a CPA. It doesn't exist.
I've got one for you. Actors.
Yeah, celebrities and actors.
Okay.
I mean, come on, Keanu.
Yes, that is accurate. The like the Kardashians and stuff. Actors and reality stars.
Put yourself out there. You're going to get made fun of. I mean, it's happened to all three of us.
So a few days ago, old Mackey sent a tweet out to Vikings fans just saying, "Hey, in a couple weeks, the Green Bay Packers play the Philadelphia Eagles. The rooting interest among Vikings fans in that game should probably be the Packers." Because the division, even before the Packers lost last night, the division's kind of a wrap. And the Eagles are right there with you. You're fighting for the number 1 seed. You want to play home playoff games inside U.S. Bank Stadium, right? The amount of pushback I received from Vikings fans saying, never will I ever root for the Packers, or the division is not over yet. The Packers could make a run. This Packers fear-mongering that's out there. Well, however you felt a few days ago, the Packers are now 6 games behind the Vikings in the loss column, 5 games back overall.
Yes.
Do you think the Vikings have 1 loss? The Packers have 7. Are they going to match losses on their end-of-season record? Are the Vikings going to finish 10-7 after an 8-1 start? It is over.
Well, and if the Vikings do, then screw them. Because they're not going to. But, like, if you're going to fall apart that bad, I have only one thing to say. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles. Go Eagles. I mean, yes.
Eagles fly.
Yes, you want the Eagles. This whole thing, though, like with the Packers and, the Packers might do this. Look, folks, we are seeing, and it's finally upon us, right? The beginning of the end. And I'll give you the one thing from last night that's so key, because this happens to every Packer great QB. At least it happened to Brett Favre and it happened to Aaron Rodgers last night. And it's this one. 2007 NFC title game. Freezing cold. Lambeau Field. Favre was awful. Part of the reason why Favre came here was the Metrodome, which he couldn't stand as a kid, but he wanted to be indoors. And that's the game that Mike McCarthy told people off the record, if it hadn't been Brett Favre, I would have benched him at halftime. He was unplayable. Last night, Aaron Rodgers, the elements, dude was melting down. You know, this whole notion, this whole thing about, well, quarterbacks can play to the look at Tom Brady. Okay, Tom Brady is a once-in-a-lifetime guy. Aaron Rodgers is getting old. It's cold. He's miserable. His team's not that good. And so I do think now we are seeing the end. I don't expect like some type of great comeback from the Packers and especially Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, it's bad. Let's hear from some more depressed Packers fans here on Packer Frontline. Mackey and Judd.
Yeah, I think we're focusing the blame on the wrong spot. I think it should be blamed on Murphy and, excuse my pronunciation, Gutenhunser. They put Rodgers in an untenable position, or even LaFleur, who's in charge. And nobody's in charge, and it's showing up in the offense.
Gutenhunster. Gutenheimer.
You know what? That is a well-lubricated fan.
It is.
That is a well-lubricated fan. Feeling no pain despite the Packers' loss.
No, he's been numb emotionally and physically for probably about 15 hours at this point. All right, let's keep lining these guys up, man. Just let's rack them.
Mason Crosby needs to get fired, all right? He's too old for this stuff. To be pooching an extra point like that and getting it blocked, he's too old for this. We need a younger kicker in there that's going to kick better field goals. I mean, in the pregame, we got the backup kicker. He's kicking 70-yard field goals or 60-yard field goals like it's nothing, and we're putting Mason Crosby in there. That needs to be stopped.
Okay. I will say.
Oh, here we go.
I noticed this too. On shorter kicks, he did this with one of the field goals. He pooches the shorter kicks. You know how most kickers, it's like a 39-yard field goal. Most kickers are just going to line it up and kick it like it's a 55-yarder, and they're just going to blast it through. He is taking a little off the shorter field goals, and they're barely getting over the crossbar.
Ugh.
I don't know. He's treating them differently. So mechanically, I saw the same thing that this fan did, even though I was not. Well, I had one last night. I think that guy probably had about 6 drinks. Old Macadac got into one glass last night. Yeah.
There you go.
Imagine all the Packers' problems, though. All the Packers' problems. And you called WDUZ, and you wait on hold, chomping at the bit to give your hot take. And your hot take, I mean, among a team that is now just dead, your hot take is the kicker. Come on, man. You gotta come in with a Rodgers rip. Something else.
I'm just wondering if it's time to pull the plug on Rodgers. The guy has not been a leader. The guy is talking about drugs on the radio. He's completely discommitted to this team. I just want to say, Skol Vikings.
All right. Well, Skol Vikings for sure. They're going to win the division.
Is that one of ours?
I mean,
we have encouraged
was that a Purple Daily listener? We did encourage this. Yeah.
And we still do.
Been. And if it was you, please comment that you did, or tweet at us that I went on whatever radio station to do this. This would have been great.
I did Google discommitted just to see if that's an actual word. It is not. Decommitted. Or can you be uncommitted? You could be uncommitted.
You're not.
You can decommit or be uncommitted. Discommitted is not a thing.
I sort of like the word. I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
On the fly, that's a pretty good word.
Okay.
You're discommitted.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Added to our vernacular.
One more. We got one more here.
Hey, I just want to say, Rodgers in the whole offense, it looks like me and my deer stand, just a whole lot of nothing. I mean, our receivers can't create space. We got nothing going on offense, and that really hurts us because then our defense got to be on there more time than anything, and I don't know, it just hurts, sucks.
Poor guy.
It stinks.
Sounds like a younger fan there too, man. Like he probably missed. My guess is he sounds like a dude that was born just after the first Super Bowl championship. Probably. And so he has seen Hall of Fame quarterback play his entire life, but only one Super Bowl title.
That poor kid probably, froze his ass off in his deer stand, last weekend. Clearly wasn't able to get a buck, and then he had to watch, maybe a little tease on Sunday, right? They beat the Cowboys with an epic comeback, and then they just fall on their face against the Titans. Oh, just a rough week for that guy. Rough week.
Amazing. It sounds to me actually like, and I say this with all due respect, that all of these fans probably made a run to Lake Ridge Liquors before they called in to their favorite Packer postgame show on 107.5 The Fan. Lake Ridge Liquors, a new partner here on Mackey and Judd and Score North.
Yes, thank you to Lake Ridge Liquors for jumping on board for Mackey and Judd, Judd's hockey show. You know, there's a collection of Packer fans in Minnesota, unfortunately. We even work with them here in the building. And I would recommend going to Lake Ridge Liquors off 694 and Rice Street. They have over 1,000 wine in stock. They have plenty of Surly beer in stock. And the best part is, because I frequent the liquor store a lot, Judd and Mackey like to frequent the liquor store a lot, they have a rewards program, right? So when you go to Lake Ridge Liquors, you go there maybe for the first time, you mention SCORE. SKOR, and they will spot you $5 in rewards on your next visit to Lake Ridge Liquor. So they're paying you to go to Lake Ridge Liquors. It's a reward system. Go check them out. They're off 694 and Rice Street in Vadnais Heights. Thank you to Lake Ridge Liquors. Go check them out, Lake Ridge Liquors.
Love it. All right, let's get to Feedback Friday here. We have a few Vikings-related feedback questions. You can always send us stuff. We did a full feedback session on Purple Daily with a bunch of great Vikings stories and questions, comments. But all throughout the week, you can send us theories, takes, questions, whatever, life advice through the Score North app. There's a feedback tab, and we try to get to as many as we can at the end of the week. Andy Rep says, Phil, I'd love to hear you guys break down Walter Football's recent power rankings for this week after the Vikings beat Buffalo. A few people sent this in. This might be the harshest I've ever read about the Vikings all year. They're pretty much saying the Vikings have done nothing. All right, I'm going to read you guys an excerpt from, I think they have the Vikings like outside the top 5. I don't have the ranking in front of me, but here's what they wrote. The Vikings are extremely lucky to be 8-1. They got the Packers when Green Bay was missing countless starters. They made a comeback against a Detroit team that suffered a ton of injuries during the game. They squeaked by the Saints even though New Orleans was missing its starting quarterback, running back, and top receiver. They also couldn't generate any offense in the second half against the Bears, save for the final drive. There was that ridiculous Miami game in which the Dolphins legitimately outgained the Vikings by 224 yards with backup quarterbacks. But the Vikings beat the Bills in the doop-de-doo text. Sure, but not really. The Bills were 99% to win that game on multiple occasions. If Josh Allen didn't fumble the center exchange on the attempted sneak, the Bills would have run out the clock. Can I say, this is like the 50th time I've heard this thing about the Bills game. And I agree, like, it is fortunate that Josh Allen dropped the snap. However, it's also fortunate that the Bills, who were lined up in the neutral zone on the quarterback sneak before the drop snap, weren't called for offsides. And it's fortunate, quite frankly, that they stopped the Vikings on a 4th and 2 inches on a game-winning sneak. Right? So where do you how do you want to slice this up? Do you want, right. The Vikings were literally an inch away, despite the Bills lining up in the neutral zone, from winning that game with a touchdown. They fail. And now the Bills have to dig their way out of their own end zone, and the Vikings got the push off the line of scrimmage. It would have been a safety if it wasn't a touchdown. This is what I have a hard time with on the luck factor. It wasn't like they were lining up for a kneel down at the 20 and bobbled the snap.
Right.
A lot of this was forced by Vikings pressure. So, and yes, the Vikings were clunky early in the year. They've been a lot better the last few weeks. They're kind of an ascending team. So, Walter Football, stick to mock drafts, guy.
I didn't know he did those. I didn't even know about that. So
I didn't either. I thought it was exclusive to mock draft.
I'm dismissing Wally.
Okay.
See you in April.
And I think Wally has a staff of people that write for him too.
Well,
it's like Walter and then a bunch of
there's no way Wally's doing all of this. He needs some help here.
Jeff Bowman says the Bills are now 2-9 in 1-score games the last 2 years, just like the Vikings were with Zimmer the last 2 years in 1-score games. Both Zimmer and Sean McDermott seem to get tight, and then their teams get tight in the final minutes. Both Zimmer and McDermott are defensive-minded coaches. Do you think there's a theme or coincidence with coaches who are defense first that they struggle in close games?
I can see that. That's interesting, and I can see that. But I mean, we've seen offensive coaches, Childress's teams, have some of the same problems as well. So I think it's an interesting theory. I think you would need to go and look at the coaches, though, because, I mean, there are just some personality types, too. Perhaps defensive guys, especially the old school defensive guys, are wound tighter. because O'Connell does bring a sense of an air of confidence and calmness that I love.
Yes.
But there's been a lot of football coaches who have expertise on both sides of the ball that don't have that.
I will say I don't think that the wound up personality necessarily makes the team wound up. I think it's more the opposite of the absence of a personality that can loosen things prevents the team from being loose. I don't think the coach is causing the tightness. I think the situation of the game is causing the tightness naturally. And you need a coach that can come in there like a John Harbaugh or someone that can kind of break the tension a little bit and be like, hey guys, it doesn't have to be like a stand-up comedian or anything, but just someone that's, hey guys, it's okay. It's all good. You know, I've told you guys this story before when I used to cover the Twins back 10 years ago as a beat writer. And while the Twins still can't beat the Yankees in the playoffs, but when they were going through that stretch where like every other year they would just get trounced by the Yankees in the playoffs. And it happened again in 2010 when I was a beat writer. And the next spring, I was on a flight to go cover spring training in like early February. And one of the Twins' assistant coaches was sitting right next to me on the plane, also on the way down to. So we sat there and talked for like 3 or 4 hours. And, you know, after like an hour and a half, you know, start to get comfortable. And this person told me, I love Gardy, Ron Gardenhire, the manager at the time. Love Gardy, but he's part of the reason why we are not looser in these games. Like the tension is there because it's a playoff game against the Yankees. And he oftentimes doesn't do enough to loosen it up. And you can sort of sense like everyone kind of. So do I think that Mike Zimmer and Sean McDermott are contributing to that? Maybe a little bit, but I think it's the lack of another gear in their personalities that prevents those teams from loosening up. That's my theory. I do buy into it.
Absolutely. And I think part of the thing too is, and we experienced it here from 2018 through 21, is in football, I don't think you can have both your quarterback and coach be teeth grinders and be successful. Like one of them has to be like, we're fine.
Yeah, because Belichick's kind of a teeth grinder, but he also has everything under control at the same time.
Yes, but Brady wasn't. Like he just knew the mission. And I think in Kirk's case, I think if you turn Kirk loose and say, you know what, Kirk, this is all on you, go do it, I still don't think that you would have success. I think the O'Connell-Kirk combination is working really well for a reason.
Yeah. Well, Kirk is being ushered into the deep end of the pool. Hey, I know this is uncomfortable, but we need you to, or the high dive. It's like Kirk loves the pool, loves the the aquatic center.
Kirko
loves the diving board. Kirko chains. We needed to go up to that one. It's late in the game.
I like the deep end, Phil, because like he's got the little things on his arms now, but it's like you're not going to drown. It's going to be fine. And so he's got exactly. So he's floating a little bit, but I mean he's still doing it. I like this. I like where you're going with this.
Yeah. Okay, Steve Weiner says, watching you and Alex Boone dig through film and talking about Kevin O'Connell's effect on Cousins made me think of discussions I have with my son about the NFL. The talent level on teams is so close that the coach's vision and culture is more important in the NFL than in any other pro league. I think yes.
I like it.
Because it is the most socialist league in pro sports, where there's a salary cap across everything. There's a salary floor, so everyone is spending around the same amount of money. The worst teams in the league get access to the best draft picks, including the best young quarterbacks. And every year there's very rarely like, here are these 6 teams are going to dominate for like an 8-year stretch. Baseball has that where, now the Dodgers are going to be great for like 8 years and the Pirates are going to be garbage for this amount of time. If baseball had the same structure, the Pirates would pop up and be awesome. These small markets like Buffalo and Green Bay that produce, 13-win teams and stuff. So, yeah, if the talent levels are all like within, there's going to be outliers on either end. But if like there's 24 teams in the middle with similar talent levels, then finding little ways to win in the margins through culture or situational football, which Kevin O'Connell preaches, makes the difference.
I think there's a pretty good case to be made that to that point in football, you have the biggest effect because your roster is huge. Like basketball, I'm not saying coaching's not important. The X's and O's are for sure, but it's a players' league, right? Like the best players play a huge role, good or bad, in controlling their teams. Football, I think you set the tone for an enormous roster with different personalities and people. And I mean, look, the one thing that we can definitively say is when you look at what Zimmer did, good and bad, and when you look at what O'Connell did, the juxtaposition's huge. The difference between those two guys and fundamentally how they approach their plan is absolutely enormous. And in this case, at least for 2022, it's working. So
yeah, at least for the last few years, anyways, because you can make a case that in the 2014 to 17 version of the NFL that.
And this is where O'Connell, like, it's going to be very interesting to see how he progresses too, because like this team was prepared for a fresh start. O'Connell's proved to be the perfect person to give them exactly that, right? But it's going to be interesting to see as this progresses and things change and people change and there's going to be problems that are unforeseen, how that is taken care of. Because, when as good a guy as Les Frazier was, when Zimmer came here in 14 and 15, that was some very necessary tough love.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's going to be O'Connell's the perfect guy for right now. The story of his head coaching career very much has a lot of chapters left to play out.
Yes. A shout out to our friends at Federated Mutual Insurance Company for helping to elevate countless businesses, including ours, by the way. They've been a great supporter of us throughout the years as we have built Score North, Mackey and Judd, and Purple Daily, so we thank them for that. They're all about providing a guiding hand, risk management tools and resources, and you can find out more about their history, which dates back to 1904 on federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. All right, the feedback continues here on Mackey and Judd. I kind of love this question.